We continue to see growing concern over the revelation that the IRS, starting back in 2010, targeted specific conservative nonprofit organizations. This targeting included arduous requests for donor information, delays in tax exemption certification approval versus the fast track that liberal groups had received. Here detail what this experience was like and to discuss whether what has been extended as a resolution and as an apology is making things right. And to do that, we talk with the chief strategist for the TeaParty.net, Niger Innis. Good morning, Mr. Innis.
Good morning.
And the website, of course, is the obvious, TeaPartyNet.com. We have a link over at our website. So the White House...
Actually, if I could make it just a little correction.
Sure.
Because the liberals never sleep, and they captured the website, TeaParty.net. So our website is actually the TeaParty.net.
Oh, that's why I said I might have spoken a little bit too fast, which I tend to do sometimes. I guess I have to cut back on the caffeine. My apologies. Tried to say a lot in a little time. You know how it is.
But, indeed. I'm a New Yorker, so a native New Yorker, so I definitely know what it means to be talking too fast.
Yes, it is theteaparty.net, and that is the link we have over at our website as well. So the White House and the IRS says they're sorry, although Jay Carney, with the line of the week, I think, said that even though the IRS apologized, it doesn't mean they did anything wrong. But how does the apology mean anything to you?
Jay Carney is the gift that keeps on giving, isn't he? Well, look, yes, the apology means something to me in this sense of the word. What it tells me is that there's some folk within the administration, either at the level of the IRS or, my suspicion, much higher, that have something else to hide. Since when do you know the IRS to be an agency that preemptively apologizes for anything? I have a strong belief, and I think that now the good work of the co-equal branch of government, the United States Congress, has to come to fruition. They have to launch an investigation. They need to hold hearings. They need to pass an independent counsel statute that's very narrowly constricted, so that we can get to the truth of this, which is the same question that I think a lot of Americans have about Benghazi and the Undersecretary of State, Susan Rice, or the ambassador to the UN. Who gave the order? Who gave you the order to go on 5 talk shows and Sunday talk shows and mislead the American people in the heat of a presidential campaign? Well, the same question is for these IRS officials. Where did you get clearance, or where did you get the instructions to go and purposefully target conservative or Tea Party-oriented groups?
The answer to that question is very important. I'm not going into jumping the gun here. One of the points of the debate has been whether or not the idea of impeachment should be taken off the table, which it shouldn't, because we have a lot more discovery still to go. But for you history buffs, I direct you to the second article of impeachment against Richard Nixon back in 1973 into 74. And depending on what the answer is regarding this case with the IRS, that article might become very relevant once again in this day and age, Mr. Innis.
That article could very well become relevant. And I'm not for one of putting impeachment on the table or taking impeachment off the table. I am for laying out the facts, telling the truth, and letting those facts unroll and let them lead us where they will go. I will tell you this, though. If indeed someone from the Obama campaign or from, God forbid, the administration itself is involved in this conspiracy or was aware of this conspiracy and did nothing, then the president has a house full of trouble. And as hot as it is currently and as bad a week as it has been for the president so far, it will get considerably hotter for him.
Talking with Niger Innis, who is the chief strategist for the TeaParty.net, theteaparty.net on the web, and you're listening to Issues and Ideas. So how hard did the IRS hit the TeaParty.net? For, as a example, I'd gotten a hold of the letter that the Richmond Tea Party Incorporated had received from the IRS. It contained 55 questions including inquiries about the content of speeches that were made, information about the donors, copies of handouts, names and credentials of the organizers. I mean, it gets into so many points of detail, which, okay, if you're on the outside looking in, IRS wants to know these things, fine. But then at the same time, when an organization like the Richmond Tea Party were getting hammered with questionnaires that I think it's easier to gain admission to Harvard by answering an admissions test than this would be. Yet so many liberal groups just get fast-tracked with their tax-exempt certification.
That's right.
So how hard were you guys hit?
Oh, there's no question. Not only did we have a burdensome process to go through, which still has not been approved or disapproved. I mean, one of the things that concerns us as well is that, several of these groups have been strung along, and so we're kept up in Never Land, We are not approved by the IRS, nor have we been disapproved, because, the funny thing about it is, if, it actually might have actually been a better situation if we had been disapproved and been told the reasons why. But the IRS didn't even do that, and there were several liberal groups that applied after we started the application process and were approved several months, as far as 6 to 7 months before we were approved.
And just for clarification for you listening too, these applications are called 501c4 tax-exempt status, which basically gives you the ability to become political advocates, but it does not necessarily have to be the sole focus of the organization, if I understand correctly.
That's exactly right. Well, not only the sole focus, it really can't even be the majority of the focus.
Yeah, 49%.
That's right. It's just that unlike 501c3, where political activity is forbidden, with a 501c4, it is not forbidden. You are allowed to engage in political activity. It just needs to be the minority of your mission statement and your activity.
We heard the president come out and say that, well, first he casually said, I think I heard about this was going this past week. I just heard about it last Friday, and almost dismissively about how it was brought to his attention. And he was calling that, declaring that he was going to make changes and straighten the situation out. He ordered the ouster of the acting IRS commissioner, Stephen Miller, who a lot of people didn't realize until after the fact he was set to leave anyway in about 2 to 3 weeks. When you see these empty efforts, what credence do you have to rely on anything substantial be done in the future steps?
Well, I tell you, I think the key as this investigation and as we seek the truth and that process unfolds, the key is going to be the media. I said yesterday in our press conference on Capitol Hill, we had a full press corps covering us with Michelle Bachmann and several United States senators and members of Congress. I said that, a lot of people are making comparisons to this and Watergate. I said the big difference between this and Watergate is that in Watergate, you had a proper relationship between the media and the executive branch of government. There was an adversarial relationship, to say the least, between members of the media and Dick Nixon. And that is just opposite of the case now. Now you have a cordial, some would say incestuous relationship between members of the media and the administration, where sometimes you've got members of the media like Jay Carney, who's with Time magazine, and who is now an administration spokesman. Then you have, it goes the other way too, you got people like David Axelrod, who were top campaign czars for the Obama team, worked in the White House, now is a member of the media establishment. So there's this truly incestuous relationship, which at its surface is bad enough, but what is even worse is when you see members of the establishment media that the public at large is supposed to trust as fair and balanced, taking liberal Democratic talking points, absorbing them, and then regurgitating them. And one of the nastiest liberal talking points has been their vicious, unprecedented, and consistent attack against the Tea Party movement, calling it racist and sexist and violent and wanting to overthrow the government. And the problem with that is when you have that constant, unfair, untrue drumbeat about the Tea Party movement itself, then it justifies the kind of misdeeds and misbehavior. It gives license to these folk within the IRS to act with impunity.
And even on a lesser but still a related instance, in New Rochelle, New York, the city council banned the veterans group from flying it's called the Gadsden flag. It's the Snake Don't Tread on Me caption flag. And why did they ban it? It's too closely associated with the Tea Party. That was the whole reasoning behind that.
That is really frightening. I had no idea about that, and I am outraged at that. And I hope there is a grassroots rebellion against that kind of nonsense.
Oh, it's being responded to, and they have from the Thomas More Law Center, some of their legal experts. The veterans are getting help from them, so they're fighting back, and that flag is going to fly sooner versus later. I have no doubt about that. But to learn more about this issue, the way it's impacting, well, you listening, because you are a citizen of the United States with the rights to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And when the IRS starts targeting, no matter if it's someone in the press, out of the press, in the media, someone who wants to be active politically and make a change, make a difference through political advocacy, that's one of the foundations of the Tea Party, and certainly the teaparty.net. And if you're targeted and held back, well, that ain't a fair rule to be playing the game by. Learn more about the teaparty.net at theteaparty.net. And we've been joined this morning by their chief strategist, Niger Innis. Mr. Innis, thanks for being here this morning.
Pleasure. You take care.